There are many narratives coming out of the dysfunctional House and the ouster of the last Republican speaker. Yesterday, I told you the reason why the GOP is fighting among themselves is that they have no unifying principles, meaning there isn't one thing they can all agree upon and put into a must-pass bill as non-negotiable with Democrats. But nothing was more shocking than to learn the GOP leadership was banking on Democrats to save the GOP leadership because the GOP leadership had prioritized funding the entirety of the Democrats' anti-American agenda. So we thought we'd shine a light on these Democrats. Maybe we all could figure out why the GOP was relying on them and what would inspire such loyalty. What's so attractive about the anti-American party? That's what we're trying to find out in today's preamble. First, kids, I have to admit it, I don't get it. I see Democrats and I wouldn't trust them if they told me the sky was blue. When I heard the GOP was punishing Democrats for voting against the Republican speaker, something Democrats are supposed to do, I have to admit I was scratching my head. Asking Democrats to bail out your Republican speaker is like asking OJ Simpson for marriage counseling. Asking Democrats to bail out your Republican speaker is like asking Bill Cosby to tend bar at the Playboy Mansion. Asking Democrats to bail out your Republican speaker is like asking Joe Biden for advice on how to raise your kids. It's like asking Hunter Biden to be your Narcotics Anonymous sponsor. It's like asking George W. Bush to win a spelling bee. Asking Democrats to bail out your Republican speaker is like asking Tanya Harding to be your bridesmaid. It's like asking Karl Rove to vote conservative. Asking Democrats to bail out your Republican speaker is like asking Stormy Daniels to run a convent. Although, considering where Pope Francis is taking the church, who knows? But you see, I just don't get the GOP's logic here. I mean, putting so much faith in their Democrat friends who have done so much harm to you and me and our country. Let's take a closer look at these Democrats.
We will continue to take actions to support Ukraine in their fight for freedom against tyranny and to curb Iran's destabilizing activities in the region and beyond.
There's Joe Biden's new brain there, folks, who doesn't appear how to pronounce the word tyranny. It's odd because that's all her warped political party and ideology is about, tyranny. Let's continue our examination.
Sign up for the SAVE plan at studentaid.gov/save. Studentaid.gov/save.
Okay, there's the #1 Democrat there who hasn't quite mastered how to read a web address. Now, while we're on the topic of Joe Biden, we all remember his biggest agenda item, wide open borders, drugs, bad actors, guns, illegal aliens pouring right into the U.S. to threaten American citizens. He campaigned on tearing down the highly effective border barriers.
No, there will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration, #1. #2, what I'm going to focus on, the fact is that somebody in this group written a lot about the border.
Okay, not sure where he was going for #2 there, but you heard #1, right? Not 1 foot of border wall was going to be built on Joe Biden's watch. He was completely dedicated and funded by GOP votes, by the way, to unleash nearly 8 million illegal aliens onto our nation so far. He's on pace to bring in 15 million illegal aliens at the end of his first term. And don't forget nearly 3 million known gotaways. We have no idea who those folks are and what they're doing in our country. Joe Biden says, not 1 more foot of border wall. Well, wait a minute. Joe Biden and his regime have decided to reverse course on that. They're now building a wall after their own voters started to reject all the harm to our people that is being done by the Democrats' illegal immigration campaign. Many Democrat voters are angry at the anti-American party for forcing them to pay for millions of illegal aliens who don't have a legal right to be in the United States. But a question now to the GOP leadership who were counting on Democrats to bail out Congressman Kevin McCarthy. If Democrats will lie to their own voters repeatedly, what makes you think Democrats are trustworthy at all? One of the Chris Salcedo show axioms that Democrats have proven true over and over and over again states. Leftists lie. They always lie. If the GOP wants to put their trust in known and proven liars, fine. As long as that decision doesn't impact GOP voters, the very people Republicans swore to defend against our enemies. Not my words, Joe Biden's words. We wondered how long it would take for the pro-Democrat caucus in the Republican Party to weigh in on the historic vote to oust the Speaker. One of the architects of the capitulation to left-wing extremists, Mitch McConnell, had this to say.
I have no advice to give to House Republicans except one. I hope whoever the next Speaker is gets rid of the motion to vacate. I think it makes the Speaker's job impossible, and the American people expect us to have a functioning government. On the Senate side, we need to get as many appropriation bills passed as possible.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack in that 30 seconds there. We'll go to the last point first. Mitch claims that the Senate must now begin to work on those appropriations bills. Kevin McCarthy didn't make sure those appropriation bills were finished on the House side before the August recess. That was a crucial mistake that was a factor in him losing the speakership. But he did get 70% done. Mitch McConnell and his good buddy Chuck Schumer, they have done no work, 0% work on getting America back to regular order in stopping the destructive, irresponsible, and corrosive overspending. In fact, Mitch McConnell was the architect of this omnibus continuing resolution model of funding our government and mortgaging our grandchildren's future so he could live high on the hog today. As for his advice to dump the motion to vacate rule, it shouldn't be dumped. In fact, it should be expanded all over the United States. You see, because of weak, government-first, dishonest, and lying politicians like Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, John Cornyn, and their uniparty ilk, American voters need accountability between elections. Didn't used to be this way. Time was we could rely on our politicians to not do serious damage to our country in 2 or 6 years. We could rely on them not to turn our government against us, as they have done with the DOJ and the FBI corruption. But those days are long gone. We must have the ability to hold elected officials accountable between elections because they have proven to be incompetent, corrupt, and untrustworthy. And I think it's instructive that a so-called Republican like Mitch McConnell would so publicly and forcefully push to make sure that government isn't held accountable by our people. And our people, not the government, is the most important thing, Mitch McConnell. At least we're supposed to be. And you know, after watching Mitch there, I think I can now see how and why certain Republicans would rely on Democrats to save them.